Welcome back to Turf Talk Americana Edition. Vance, before we get to our sojourn to the Delaware County Fair, do want to touch on an American treasure, Tepin, up north, winning the Woodbine Mile. The connections afterward, much more comfortable saying she needed the race than beforehand. She did get the job done. I thought was impressive given the layoff and some troubles this summer at Saratoga. Clearly one of our best horses in training.
Yeah, she claimed another Grade 1 victory in her third different country at Toronto at Woodbine in the mile on Saturday. It was another fine performance, not one of her most excellent ones, but like you said, she really needed the race off a 3-month layoff. She was facing a pretty tough field over some ground that had gotten a little bit of rain too, but she pulled through. And the exciting thing for us here in Lexington is that they've already talked about, yeah, she'll need another prep before the Breeders' Cup. It'll be here at Keeneland. We'll find out whether it's going to be in the Shadwell Turf Mile against males, which I hope will be the case, or the First Lady against fillies and mares. But she's coming back here to Kentucky to train up for the Breeders' Cup. Looking forward to seeing her.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll see her in the female race. Why not go with what worked last year? And the fact, I mean, she's already beaten males twice, and the Breeders' Cup Mile is against males as well. So that's why I think she'll end up. But obviously the Shadwell Turf Mile would be exciting as well. And another thing in terms of her needing the race is to remember, it's not like she had a prep and then one Royal Ascot. She actually had a pretty full first half of the year. So she's been busy, and it looks like she'll get busy again. It's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, watching her last winter down at Tampa Bay Downs and then coming up here to Kentucky for the spring, I was wondering, they were racing her quite often, running 4 or 5 times before Royal Ascot. I kind of thought in the back of my mind, hey, are they kind of squeezing the lemon dry a little bit too much here? But I think she earned that summer vacation, well-deserved after all the exploits from earlier this year. And she's rested and freshened for her final 3 starts this year. She's won the first one. Let's see if she wins the next 2.
Yep, and the owner obviously loves to run Tampa Bay, Churchill, Royal Ascot, Woodbine, Keeneland. It's fun to watch, so we'll wish her luck and enjoy her being here, but wouldn't surprise me if among our handicappers we maybe try to beat her when push comes to shove too. We'll see. From the flats to the trots and pacers, we don't really talk a lot about standard bred racing, but anyone familiar with Twin Spires knows plenty of wagering opportunities day to day on the jugheads, as some affectionately call them. And speaking of the jug, Little Brown Jug Thursday, you and I are going to take a trip up with turf rider Tom Lamara, and it's been a few years for me. It's been never for you. I'm sure you're looking forward to it.
I am, and the weather is supposed to be excellent like it usually is in mid-Ohio this time of year. Upper 80s, it looks like, sunny skies. And of course, it's always the most attended harness race in the country every year, 45,000 plus. It should be terrific fun. And we got like the smallest jug field, I think, since 1980. My research has shown this afternoon. But we have 2 very strong favorites in the 2 eliminations, so it should be a good race.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it is unique, half-mile track, the fair atmosphere, and, of course, heat racing, a dying breed, even in standard bred racing, which, really built a lot of its reputations and stars on heat racing. That has gone away, but the Little Brown Jug keeps it. You have to win twice, which means a horse could end up having to race 3 miles in one day, which is interesting. Haven't had that in a while, but just overall, to me, a real slice of the American experience. And thoroughbreds have their big races. For me, even now that the Hambletonian is at the Meadowlands, obviously a great event, a great card, they get the best horses, etc. But to me, with this being at the Delaware County Fair at a fairgrounds, it is the premier event in harness racing.
Yeah, it really goes back to harness racing's roots of having it at the county fair atmosphere. And honestly, you don't see too many races on half-mile tracks anymore. Yonkers Raceway has really built up their program in recent years, or rebuilt it back up with slot revenue. But in general, if you look at the harness landscape, both here and in Canada, the biggest racing is held on 7-furlong tracks or mile tracks. And so in that respect, the Little Brown Jug is still a unique atmosphere and a unique race in the sport.
All right, well, we'll certainly look forward to talking about that with you next week, your experience with it, and that is Thursday. And we'll wrap up, couldn't let this go without touching on Saturday at Parx. really, if any 3-year-old you would want to see is in either the Cotillion or other than Arrogate, is in the Cotillion or the Pennsylvania Derby.
Yeah, it's a very important race for Nyquist and Exaggerator. Obviously the connections hope Arrogate figuratively stumbles in the Breeders' Cup Classic, or else he's going to claim the 3-year-old crown. This is an important race, like I said, for the two earliest Classic winners this year, hopefully stamping themselves as 3-year-old champions with a win in this particular race. It's going to be tough for Exaggerator because the weather doesn't look like it's going to cooperate. Sunny skies in the forecast, and Nyquist finally has a little bit of luck. He's drawn with an outside post. He was buried on the inside in the Preakness and Haskell, so we'll see how he works out a trip in that respect. But yeah, this is a big moment for both of those horses.
Yeah, and Gunrunner back to a 1 1/8, and Brisnet Prime Power actually has him on top, although very concentrated among those top 3. And Songbird will be an overwhelming favorite. I made the comment on Twitter, if you took the top 3 out and then just only put Catherine Sophia or Karina Mia in, either would probably be 1-5. And Songbird is against both of them and will be 1-5. To me, a huge vote of confidence and respect for her talent. But if you like either of the other two, I can't blame you for taking a shot at 3-4-1.
Yeah, it's worth, if you're a betting person and you want to try and beat Songbird, you can't pass up those odds because you're not going to see him probably in the near future if they're not racing against Songbird. But to me, she just seems like the standout in that particular race, and I tongue-in-cheek referred to her as Apollo Creed going to Philadelphia for her bout on Saturday at Parx, and I expect her to come through, but we'll see. Catherine Sophia gets her first crack at Songbird, and we'll see how she does.
If she wins, is she the leader of the division?
I would say Songbird probably still, it depends on the how she beats her. I would still think Songbird would have an edge going to the Breeders' Cup Distaff on her home track at Santa Anita in a potential rematch. But yeah, you never know. We'll see how things shake out and what people think of the performance.
Head to head 1-0 might sway me, given that Catherine Sophia won the Oaks. If we were talking about, her grade 1 was the Ashland, or like Karina Mia, the Acorn, I'd say maybe not. But to me, it's the Oaks and Alabama are the top 2 filly races. They each won one of those. Now head to head in a grade 1. It's Parx, some would say, but to me, this is why you run the races on the track. So, it's exciting though. Songbird, as good as she's been, still has to show something here.
Yeah, this is her sternest test among 3-year-old fillies, I think, this year. She finally has to face the Oaks winners, so I'll wait to pass judgment until after they cross the finish line.
All right, well, we'll wait for that, and we'll talk about it next week. Should be plenty to talk about it, so join us then.